My wife reserved a Valentine's dinner for us. That alone should have made me happy. For 7 years of marriage, I was always the one making reservations. Always the one remembering anniversaries. Always the one protecting what we built. But that night, she kissed another man in the same restaurant where I once got down on one knee and asked her to spend forever with me. And the worst part? The cake on their table had mango in it. My wife was deathly allergic to mangoes. That was the moment I realized she had already stopped being my wife long before I stopped loving her. People think betrayal begins with cheating. It doesn't. It begins with small absences. Late replies, cold eyes, smiles meant for someone else. You start noticing tiny things. The way they stop reaching for your hand in public. The way your messages become chores to answer. The way silence slowly replaces intimacy. And by the time the betrayal finally shows itself, your heart is already exhausted from carrying the weight alone. My name is Oliver, and this is the story of how the woman who once said, "If the world collapses, I'd rather die beside you," became the same woman who left me standing alone in the ruins. Chapter 1. The Reservation. It started with a notification. A reservation confirmation. Valentine's Day, 7:30 p.m. Riverside Garden Restaurant. The moment I saw it, I smiled. Because Evelyn never booked restaurants. That was always my thing. For years, I planned every anniversary, every birthday, every tiny celebration. Evelyn used to tease me about it. You treat relationships like military operations. And I'd laugh and tell her. Because losing you would be catastrophic. Back then, she used to laugh softly and kiss my cheek. But this year felt different. The restaurant owner called me personally. He'd known us since college. He watched me confess to Evelyn at that very restaurant. Watched me propose there 3 years later. He joked over the phone. Still making single people jealous after all these years? I laughed. Then he said, "We added a new dessert tonight. Mango mousse cake. Want me to prepare one?" I answered automatically. "No mango. My wife's allergic." Silence. Then he chuckled awkwardly. "Right? I forgot." An hour later, Evelyn called. Her voice sounded tired. "Oliver, I have to work overtime tonight." Something inside me sank. Not anger, not suspicion, just exhaustion. That strange exhaustion that comes when your heart already knows something your mind is still trying to deny. That night, I lay awake scrolling through my phone. Then I saw it. A WeChat post from her junior coworker. Peter. Caption. "Only a caring sister knows how to spoil someone." Under it, a picture. Peter smiling lazily into the camera. Evelyn beside him, his arm around her waist. Her face flushed, and on the table between them, the wine I gave her that morning. Around her neck, the diamond necklace I spent 3 months choosing. And, right in the center of the table, a mango mousse cake. I stared at the picture for a very long time. Then I zoomed in. The restaurant. My restaurant. Our restaurant. The same place where Evelyn once cried into my chest and whispered, "I want to grow old with you." That night, she kissed another man there. And somehow, I felt nothing. That terrified me more than the betrayal itself. Chapter 2. The Mango. When Evelyn came home, it was almost midnight. She smelled like winter air, perfume, and faint cigarette smoke. She looked surprised I was awake, then casually handed me a gift bag. "Happy Valentine's Day." Inside was a Patek Philippe watch. Expensive, elegant, thoughtful. That was the confusing thing about Evelyn. She never stopped being a good wife on the surface. She still bought gifts, still remembered my coffee order, still folded my clothes neatly. But love had disappeared quietly while neither of us admitted it. I was sitting at the dining table eating mango slices. Evelyn froze. Her eyes widened. "Why are you eating that?" For years, I stopped eating mangoes because of her allergy. No mango ice cream. No mango candy. Nothing. I used to love them. But loving Evelyn meant sacrificing small things happily. At least, that's what I believed. I took another bite slowly. Sweet. Cold. Slightly sour. I had forgotten the taste. "I suddenly missed it," I said calmly. She stared at me strangely, then walked closer and wrapped her arms around my shoulders. "Oliver." Her lips brushed near mine. I stepped back. "I ate mango." Her expression cracked. "You know I'm allergic." I looked at her quietly. then said the sentence that finally made her uncomfortable. So, silence. Heavy silence. The kind that fills a room right before something breaks forever. That night, I locked the bedroom door for the first time in our marriage. And outside the door, I heard Evelyn standing there for a very long time. But she never knocked. Chapter 3. The Earthquake. At 2 a.m., my supervisor called me. Are you finally accepting the overseas position? 3 years ago, she offered me a promotion. Higher salary, international travel, huge opportunities. I refused because Evelyn hated long-distance relationships. She once told me, I can endure poverty with you, but not uncertainty. So I stayed. I stayed because I loved her more than my own future. Now, I stared at the ceiling in the dark and answered, yes. My supervisor went silent. Then she laughed softly. About damn time. After the call ended, I couldn't sleep. So I thought about us. About middle school. The earthquake. Everyone ran, screaming from the classroom. I fell after hitting a desk. And while everyone rushed outside, Evelyn turned back for me. I still remember her small hand grabbing mine. The ceiling shaking. Dust falling. Children crying. And Evelyn yelling at me. Run, Oliver. Afterward, I asked her, what if the building collapsed? She looked confused by the question, then quietly answered, if I couldn't save you, I'd rather die with you. That girl loved me once. She truly did. That's why betrayal hurts so much. Because the love was real. Until it wasn't. Chapter 4. Peter. The next morning, Evelyn's lips were swollen slightly. Mango allergy. Not from the cake. From kissing someone who ate it. I almost laughed. She grabbed my wrist before I left for work. Are you angry because I worked late? Still lying. Still pretending. I looked at her calmly. Then her phone rang. Peter. His voice came through cheerfully. Sis, come pick me up. It's freezing outside. Cease. That stupid, innocent nickname. Evelyn's expression softened instantly. And in that moment, I realized something devastating. She wasn't cold by nature. She just stopped being warm with me. Peter laughed through the phone. Oh, right. Thank Oliver for the restaurant yesterday. I borrowed his reservation and his person. I finally smiled. Not because it was funny, but because pain eventually becomes absurd. After the call, Evelyn rushed to explain. It was for work. Enough. My voice startled even me. Quiet. Emotionless. Dangerously calm. We're done, Evelyn. For 1 second, fear appeared in her eyes. Real fear. But before she could speak, Peter called again. And she answered immediately. That was my answer. Not the affair. Not the lies. That. The instinct. The choice. Me or him. And she didn't even hesitate. Chapter 5. The concert. That night, I went to her office. Snowstorm outside. Power outage inside. The building was dark. A colleague had sent me a link earlier. Peter's social media account. Hundreds of posts. Pictures. Videos. Moments. All centered around Evelyn. Like a shrine. Then I found a concert video. My favorite band. The farewell tour. I begged Evelyn to attend with me. She said she was too busy. But there she was. Under flashing lights. Kissing Peter in the crowd, while I sat alone miles away, sending her messages asking if she had eaten dinner. My phone slipped from my hand. Then, through the darkness of the office corridor, I heard Evelyn crying softly. Peter whispered, I love you. And she didn't deny it. I stood frozen outside the doorway. Then the lights came back on. They saw me. Peter panicked instantly. Oliver, it's not what you think. I punched him before he finished speaking. Hard. Years of humiliation exploded out of me at once. He collapsed against the desk. Evelyn screamed my name. I hit him again, then finally looked at her. God, she looked beautiful even then. Hair messy, eyes wet, lips swollen from another man's kiss. I took off my wedding ring and threw it at her. Evelyn, I said quietly, we're getting divorced. For the first time in years. She looked truly broken. Chapter 6. The Airport. After that night, Evelyn became desperate, crying, begging, following me everywhere. It almost worked, because memories are cruel. You remember the girl before the betrayal, not the woman after it. Then I found an old graduation photo while packing. Peter was there in the background, looking at Evelyn, and Evelyn was looking back, not at me, at him. My chest went cold. Maybe betrayal doesn't begin suddenly. Maybe it grows quietly for years, like right inside a beautiful house. That's when I made my decision. I told Evelyn, if you still want us, come with me to the islands for 5 days. It was a lie, not the trip, the hope. I already knew she wouldn't choose me when it mattered. At the airport, right before boarding, her phone rang. Peter, Galaxidon. Serious condition. Evelyn looked torn apart. Oliver, can we postpone the trip? I stared at her for a long time, then asked softly, do you remember my 18th birthday? She blinked. I smiled sadly. My wish was to watch my favorite band with you. Tears filled her eyes instantly. I continued. I was at that concert while my wife kissed another man. Silence. Then I handed her freedom. Go. She hesitated only 3 seconds before running toward the exit. 3 seconds. That was the value of 20 years together. I watched her disappear into the snow, then calmly tore up our plane tickets and bought a new one. Destination: Argentina. Chapter 7. The Collapse. Argentina changed me. For the first time in years, I breathed without pain. Buenos Aires was warm, alive. Tango music drifting through sunset streets. Wine tasting in Mendoza. Summer replacing the winter inside me. Then Evelyn called. She was crying. Oliver, please tell me what to do. I leaned back beneath golden sunlight and answered honestly. There's nothing left to do. She sobbed harder. 20 years. How can you stop loving me? I closed my eyes, because this was the truth she never understood. Love doesn't die dramatically. It dies quietly, in ignored messages, missed birthdays, cold dinners, lonely hospital visits. It dies from neglect long before betrayal finishes the job. Then I finally said the words she feared most. I don't love you anymore. She went silent, and somehow that silence traveled across oceans and broke something inside both of us forever. Chapter 8. New Year's Eve. Months later, I returned home for New Year's. When I opened the door, Evelyn stood outside. I barely recognized her. Messy hair, thin face, red eyes. The scandal destroyed her reputation. Apparently, Peter lost his job too. Their passionate love became a prison. Funny how forbidden love stops feeling romantic once consequences arrive. Evelyn looked at me like I was oxygen. Oliver, please. Fireworks exploded outside. I remembered another New Year years ago. Teenage Evelyn sneaking out at midnight just to give me a handmade bracelet. Back then, seeing her smile made my entire world feel complete. Now, nothing. No heartbreak. No love. Just emptiness. She whispered, I can't live without you. And for the first time, I believed her. But it didn't matter anymore. I looked at her calmly, then said, seeing you like this ruins my appetite. Her face turned white. I closed the door gently. Behind me, my family laughed around the hot pot table. Warmth, noise, life. I realized something important that night. Losing one person doesn't mean losing your entire future. Chapter 9. The Earthquake Returns. Months later, I traveled to Japan for work. Summer fireworks exploded across the sky like burning stars. I called my mother while eating mango bread. Funny, I used to avoid mangoes for love. Now I ate them without thinking. Then the earthquake warnings began. Flights canceled. Phones disconnected. Back home, panic spread. And Evelyn booked a flight to Japan immediately. Peter tried stopping her. She smashed a kettle over his head and left him bleeding. Because obsession always becomes violence eventually. She searched for me everywhere, calling my name through crowded streets, trying different phone numbers after I blocked her. Then she found the inn where I had stayed. Moments later, the building collapsed during the quake. By the time I returned safely home, I learned the truth. Evelyn survived. Barely. Her leg was crushed. Doctors weren't sure she would walk again. My mother asked carefully, do you want to visit her? I stood quietly by the window. Outside was another unfamiliar country waiting for me. Another journey, another beginning. And after a very long silence, I answered, no, because some love stories end long before people stop breathing. Ending. People think heartbreak is loud. It isn't. Real heartbreak is quiet. It's deleting someone's number and still remembering it by heart. It's seeing their favorite food in a restaurant and looking away automatically. It's realizing one day, you finally stopped checking if they texted back. Evelyn once saved my life during an earthquake, and years later, she became the disaster I survived. But maybe that's life. Some people enter your story to teach you how deeply you can love. Others teach you how deeply you can heal. As for me, I kept traveling. New cities, new skies, new versions of myself. And somewhere along the way, the pain stopped following me. Final message. The saddest thing about betrayal is that it never comes from your enemies. It comes from the person who once promised to protect your heart. But healing begins the moment you finally choose yourself.